Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Rachel, and in today's video what I'm going to be doing is giving you my semi-final 2 predictions for this year's upcoming Eurovision Song Contest. I'm really excited to share my predictions with you, and I've put these together based on seeing the rehearsal clips and some clips of the live performances that they've done so far. So what I'm going to be telling you today is the 9 countries that I think are going to qualify this year, and then the 6 countries that I think are not going to qualify in this year. Now, just to be clear with you guys, there's going to be 10 qualifiers this year, but one of which I have not reviewed this year, I've not listened to, but I'm going to go by the betting odds and just assume that that country will qualify. So I'm going to give you the 9 countries that I do think will also qualify for the semi-final. So I'm going to start from top till bottom, and then I'm going to give you my non-qualifiers, and then the country that I think is finishing in 9th and the country that I think is finishing in 11th place this year. And we're going to start with the country that I think is going to win the semi-final this year, win the televote of the semi-final, which is the Netherlands. I think Jus Klein with Europapa is probably going to be punchy enough staging wise, and also with their really good running order and slot. I think it's going to be enough to win the televote in this case. The song is upbeat, it's catchy, it's colourful on the stage, and I think it will translate to the audience members. And coming quite closely behind this one in 2nd place is Switzerland, Nemo with the Code. I think Nemo's staging was very kind of avant-garde, interesting approach they have there with that sort of spinning platform, and I think their outfit is polarising, potentially people kind of love it or hate it. I'm kind of leaning on the side of not quite liking the outfit. I think it could be better, but I kind of get the image and I get what they're trying to go for and the message they're trying to portray. But yeah, the staging's interesting. It feels like Nemo has to kind of do a balancing act with the singing and sort of performing on this spinning platform. Really great idea, and I think it will translate to the televoters, but I think the Netherlands has a slight edge in terms of televote appeal in this case. And then interestingly, in 3rd place here, I've got Armenia. I do feel like this one is a dark horse. It is very unique. Nothing kind of sounds like this in the semi-final. I feel like their direct competitor is probably Estonia, and they're still quite far removed from each other. This one just has that trendy little vibe. I think it will translate to the audience, and the televote could go quite big for it. So I'm going to say 3rd, but I might be being a bit generous here. We'll see. And then in 4th, I have Estonia. So again, I do feel like this has a big televote appeal in terms of just the silliness of it, but also it's very Eurovision. I think with Finland in semi-final 1, it has a similar appeal, but just in a slightly different way. So I do think if Finland went through, this probably will go through as well. And then in 5th, I have Norway. This one I think is more of a jury magnet, so if it does qualify, it will do really well in the final with the juries. I'm excited to see how that does, but I do think this one has enough kind of appeal to it to also get a good televote score. And yeah, I think there's not too many kind of rock sounds and experimental sounds in the semi-final that it has to compete with, maybe Czech Republic, but yeah, otherwise, you know, it will stand out. And then in 6th place, I have Greece. I think this one could have been higher, but from what I've seen so far of the rehearsal clips, it hasn't kind of grabbed me, and I feel like it could have been a bit slicker. They're doing this kind of one camera shot throughout the whole 3 minutes, and I don't think it quite works with the song, but I still think the song is strong enough on its own to qualify. I think it will translate directly to audiences all over Europe. It doesn't matter where in Europe you're from. I think this is catchy enough and interesting enough to kind of appeal to loads of people. And then in 7th place here, I have Austria. This one is probably going to be really well choreographed because Colleen is an amazing dancer. I think so far her live performances have been pretty good. They could be stronger, and I do feel like this gets eclipsed by some of the other entries here, but it's still strong enough, I think, to qualify. So I'm excited to see how that one unfolds. And then in 8th, I think the country that's making it back into the final after so many years, just like Ireland did, is Georgia. I think they have got a package that's strong enough to qualify. Over the past few years, they've had decent songs with decent stagings that just haven't quite been enough to go through. But I think this year they've kind of hit the nail on the head, and I'm really excited. I personally love this song. And now we're going to move to the 6 countries that I think are not going to go through. So we'll start in last place. Unfortunately, I think Albania might be in danger of coming last. For example, they are second in the running order, so they're quite early on, slot of death, if that even still is a thing. But yeah, I just think the staging doesn't quite work, and the song, the revamp in particular, it might get quite lost amongst its competitors. It might not come last, but I just think the other songs above it have slightly more edge over this one in terms of televote appeal. Just above it, in 15th, I've got Latvia. I think Latvia unfortunately have sent one of their biggest stars with a song that I personally think is good, but I don't think a lot of other people think it's good and think it's kind of worthy of qualification, so it will probably get lost. The staging looks quite bare, it looks quite slow paced. I just think there's a lot of kind of strong entries in the semi-final, and Latvia will probably get lost, so therefore 15th place. Similarly, Malta in 14th place. It's a good effort, it's opening the show, lots of choreography, it's slick, but I just think it's been done before many times. They've got Georgia in the semi-final, which might slightly outshine. It's that kind of thing, and I think Malta always struggle in the televote, so I'm not going to hedge my bets on this qualifying. 14th I think is a safe bet for this one. And then in 13th place, I've got San Marino. I think San Marino have slightly climbed in the odds over the last few days because their staging does look quite good. It's a huge improvement on the national final, but I think we tend to slightly overestimate their televote appeal. So I'm going to kind of cut underneath the betting odds a little bit here, put them in 13th and see what happens. But yeah, I don't have much faith in this qualifying. If it does, it would be fantastic, but at the moment, I'm not really convinced. And then the country that I think unfortunately is coming 12th this year is Denmark, missing out on the final again. I really just don't see a pathway to qualification with this one. It's a strong semi-final, it's really well sung, it's really well performed, and it has really nice staging, but it's just not quite enough, it's not quite doing the business. And yeah, I think in the recap it will get lost, unfortunately. But yeah, it's an entry to be proud of, I think. I just don't really see it qualifying. And we've come down to the wire now with the last two songs on here. So we've got left over Czech Republic and Belgium. So Belgium obviously is my winner this year. I do feel like though the live performances have been lacking. I think the vocals have been sharp and it could be so much stronger than it actually is. And similarly with Czechia, the studio version of this song is epic. It's really well produced and it's punchy, but I do feel like on live performances it doesn't quite translate either. So it was a toss up between these two. But in the end, I've decided that Belgium will qualify. I think on its own merits, the song is good enough to go through. Similarly with Greece, I think on its own merits, it will qualify over Czechia, who I've got in 11th. We'll see what happens. I hope Musti pulls it off, because if it's sharp, it's very noticeable, and that kind of pain and angst in the song gets completely lost and you get distracted by a poor vocal. So it really needs to come through. But I have faith. With Czechia, I just think it will miss out by a hair. I don't think it's going to be like there's going to be 10 qualifiers with high scores and then 11th place is a huge gap. I do think it's going to be close, so we'll see. But yeah, Czechia just isn't quite doing the business either. So to recap, the 9 countries that I think are going to go through in semi-final 2 are Netherlands, Switzerland, Armenia, Estonia, Norway, Greece, Austria, Georgia and Belgium. So let me know down below the countries that you think are qualifying this year and the countries you think aren't going through. I'm looking forward to reading your predictions, and stay tuned because I will be doing a live reaction to the qualifiers tomorrow night and I'll be comparing it to my predictions. So I'll see you guys then, and consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't. So bye.